Hey guys, it's Natalie and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a wrap-up video, which I know I haven't done in a really long time. The last time I filmed a wrap-up video was July of 2020, which feels to me like it was just a few weeks ago, when in reality it was almost an entire year ago. So, yikes. But anyways, in today's video, I'm going to be covering the books that I read from August of 2020 to January of 2021. I know that I haven't done regular filming in such a long time, but I'm finally getting back into reading and feeling the motivation to film, so it's gonna happen. So the first book I have to talk about is actually one that I finished in May of 2020, and I never got around to reviewing it because I kept telling myself that I was gonna do a separate review video just for this book, and I ended up not doing it, and so I never talked about this book on my channel. And that book is Take a Hint, Dani Brown by Talia Hibbert. The reason I wanted to film a separate review for this book is because this is an ARC. I won it in a Goodreads giveaway, and it was my very first ARC, so I thought I would do a very special video dedicated just to reviewing this book, and I never ended up doing it. So we're gonna talk about it right now. So if you somehow haven't heard of this book, this is an adult rom-com, and this is the second book in an adult rom-com series, I believe called The Brown Sisters, the first book in the series being Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and this one is Take a Hint, Dani Brown. So this follows Chloe's sister Dani, otherwise known as Danica, and she ends up getting involved in a publicity stunt romance between her and a rugby player. And along the way, during this fake relationship slash friends with benefits, feelings end up happening, and Danica is very much not for that. She's not for relationships. She's had a lot of bad experiences in the past, and she's very independent and hard-headed. So our love interest Zafir is quite the opposite. He's very romantic of a person, he reads a lot of romance novels, and he very much wants to be in a happy, stable relationship. So Danica and Zafir want very different things, but they end up falling in love, and that's all I'm really gonna say about it. So I really loved this book. I ended up giving it 5 out of 5 stars. I really love Talia Hibbert's writing. It is so funny, and she has me laughing at every page, and the banter that she writes is so realistic and also, like I said, hilarious at the same time. I feel like she does a really good job of balancing humor and also balancing real life problems that our characters are experiencing. For example, like I said, our main character Danica struggles a lot with relationships, and she doesn't want to be in one because of past things that have happened. And Zafir is in a little bit of a tough spot with letting love into his life again because his brother and his father died in an accident. So Zafir and Danica both have things in their lives that are preventing them from loving to the fullest extent that they can love. And I feel like Talia Hibbert does a really good job of writing that in a really realistic way, but like I said, also balancing it with laughter and light at the same time. As you can see, I really annotated this book because I really enjoyed it, and there were so many quotes that I liked and so many things that made me laugh that I wanted to look back at later, and I could definitely see myself rereading this as a comfort read for when I'm feeling really down because, like I said, her stuff just makes me laugh. She's an excellent writer. I can't wait to read the third book in the series that comes out very soon. So if you guys are looking for a great rom-com author who writes cinnamon roll heroes and badass heroines, then I highly recommend her books. I've read 3 of her books now, and they have all blown me away, so I highly recommend this book or any of her books in general. And like I said, 5 stars for this one. So the next book I have to talk about is Sea of Strangers by Lang Leave, and this one is a poetry collection, and this is the first thing I've ever read by Lang Leave. I know that she's very popular in the booktube community and people love her stuff. So I actually ended up reading this book with my boy, and we both discussed the different poems that we each felt an attachment to after we read it. I actually read this poetry collection aloud to him, and like I said, we discussed which ones I liked and what resonated with me, and he talked about what he liked and what resonated with him, and it was really interesting to see which ones resonated with us, and I feel like it definitely helped us bond more. I felt like I got to know him better because we read this together, because this touches on love and loss, and I feel like Lang Leave wrote everything in such a palpable way that it felt realistic, and I feel like a lot of the time poetry can get pretty vague to the point where interpretation can just be anything, but I feel like you can definitely see the clear message in this poetry collection that she's talking about love and loss in a very realistic way that makes you able to relate to it. So overall, I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this one, and I definitely would like to read more poetry from Langleaf. So the next book that I read is The Monster of Elendhaven by Jennifer Giesbrecht. This is a short adult horror novella. I definitely was in the mood for some short books when I was feeling very slumpy with my reading, and I didn't really want to read anything too long because it couldn't keep my attention. So I feel like this book was really great for that. This book is very short but very immersive, and I definitely loved the atmosphere of this, and I could taste the soot in my mouth of this like shabby city, and something about this book I just really loved. So it's not just the atmosphere that I was taken with, but also the fantasy aspects as well, and the concepts in this world that were going on that make the world what it is. There's also a male-male relationship slash romance that ensues in the book, but it isn't the focus of the book. And I went into this thinking that it would be kind of a larger part of the story, but it's not really like discussed in that way. I didn't really explain what this is about in the best way. So this basically is about a man slash monster who comes under the care of a very strange individual, and they have a very weird relationship together, and their motives are kind of unclear, if not blurry. It's really hard to explain this book. You'll get it once you read it, but it's like the description of the book is so vague, and I feel like it has to be because this book is so short. So all I can really say is read this one. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars because I thought it was very captivating for being such a short book. So definitely check this one out. So the next book that I read is The Skin I'm In by Sharon G. Flake. This is a very short young adult novel that follows our main character Malika, who is often ridiculed for being too black, and there's a teacher at her school who I believe has vitiligo. I can't pronounce it properly. I'll put the word here, but I can't pronounce it very well. She feels very comfortable in her skin and she loves herself, and she tries to help Malika feel the same way. So I really enjoyed this book, and I ended up giving it 3.5 out of 5 stars. I really liked the message that this book had, and I think it was really touching to see the impact that a teacher can have on a child's life, and it made me even more eager to become a teacher. I think this is a very impactful story, and I feel like it's a really good read, and it definitely has a very strong message of feeling confident in your skin and things like that. So this is a really great book that I enjoyed and I recommend. So yeah. So those were all the books that I read towards the end of 2020, and now we're moving on to the 3 books that I read this month in January. And the first one I have is a graphic novel, and that is Quiet Girl in a Noisy World by Debbie Tung. This one follows an introverted girl, and it basically is in a comic style, and it just shows little instances of what it's like to be an introvert, and I really enjoyed this one. I ended up giving it 5 out of 5 stars. I definitely related to this one hardcore, as I'm an introvert myself, and even if you're not an introvert, I think it's really good to get at least a basic understanding of what it can be like to be an introvert and how being an introvert can also be stressful. So I really liked this, and the art style is really simple but really adorable, and I feel like it really captures the emotions well with just a black and white and gray color palette. So yeah, I highly recommend this one. I really enjoyed it. So the next book I read in January is Riot Baby by Tochi Onyebuchi, and this is a very short POC dystopian slash fantasy, and this one follows our main character Ella and her brother Kev, and it really explores their sibling relationship, but it also explores a variety of other subjects, including racism and this dystopian world that they live in that is very much divided. Our main character Ella also has very supernatural powers, and she has a lot of strong ability to the point where it kind of scares the people around her. She doesn't always use her powers for good. This book also touches on incarceration, as Ella's brother Kev is in prison for a majority of the book, and this book just covers so many important subjects. I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. It was really close to being a 5 for me, because I really did enjoy the messages that were addressed. I really liked the relationship that Kev and Ella had together and the sibling bond that they had. The only things I probably didn't like about this book is that the timeline jumps around so much to the point where it confused me. Sometimes I couldn't quite tell where the narrative was going. I really do like that they jumped through different time periods, or the author jumped through different time periods, because it definitely helped to understand the plot of the story better. But I feel like it was done in a way that wasn't very cohesive, and it just was very confusing to me at the end of the day. So other than that, I did really enjoy this book, and I think it has a lot of very powerful messages. Just be warned, there's a lot of trigger warnings for this book, them being violence, mild gore, animal death, harsh language, police brutality, infant death, terminal illness, a suicide attempt, racism, and death. So yeah, keep in mind there is a lot of trigger warnings for this book, so just be aware of that going into it. But overall, I really enjoyed this. Like I said, I think it had very important topics that were addressed, and yeah, I really enjoyed this one. So the last book I read in the month of January is Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs? Big Questions from Tiny Mortals About Death by Caitlin Doughty. So this book is exactly what I just said. It is basically questions that kids ask our author, who is a mortician, and they ask her all kinds of weird questions like, will my cat eat my eyeballs? Do bodies in the cemetery make the water we drink taste bad? And a bunch of different things like that. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to feel reading this book because I have a very strong fear of death, and I was kind of afraid of reading this one. But honestly, I think it helped my fear of death a little bit, because Caitlin Doughty is definitely, her writing style, she's very to the point, but also she combines humor along with, you know, her very out in the open descriptions of all things death related. I feel like it helped that this book is targeted toward a younger audience, because these are questions asked by younger people, and it's in a palatable, very lighthearted format. Like, even though she doesn't sugarcoat anything, I feel like she would be even more descriptive had it been for adults primarily. So I think this one helped a little bit. I have her other book on my TBR, When Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, and I really want to read that one as well. This, I feel like, really scratched my brain also because I was really in the mood for some nonfiction, so this one definitely satisfied that itch. So if you, like me, have very strong fears of death and you want to read a book about it a little bit to maybe ease your fears, maybe it'll make it worse, I don't know, but personally it helped me. So yeah, I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this, and I really loved the writing. So I think that concludes all of the books that I have read from August of 2020 to January of 2021. And like I said, I'm going to start filming more regularly since I finally feel the motivation to read again and the motivation to film videos for you guys. Also, I just missed you guys so much. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Leave a like, subscribe down below, and hit the notification bell if you don't want to miss a single upload. And have a great day. Bye!